One text, one lie, one perfect vacation gone wrong. You know that moment when you realize your perfect life is just a carefully constructed lie. Yeah, that hit me like a tidal wave on what was supposed to be the ultimate family vacation. One text, one name, and suddenly the sand beneath my feet felt more like quicksand, pulling me into a mess I never saw coming. The salty sea breeze mixed with the high-pitched laughter of kids echoing across the shore as we strolled toward our rented bungalow. I'd planned this trip meticulously, the ultimate family vacation by the ocean. I was pulling out all the stops as a dad and a husband. My wife Rachel, always a little over the top, was by my side while our two kids, Max and Emma, buzzed with excitement. Even my parents decided to join us, making it the full Brady Bunch package. What could possibly go wrong? It had been a long time since we'd taken a trip like this. Work had been grueling, Rachel had been tangled up in her usual stresses, and the kids desperately needed a break from school. So we packed up and headed for this dreamy beach resort. A week of sun, sand, and absolutely zero responsibilities. It sounded like perfection. My sister-in-law, Natalie, had also joined us at the last minute. She was Rachel's younger sister and had always been close to our family, especially the kids. She'd been going through a rough patch after her recent breakup and needed the getaway as much as the rest of us. When we arrived, it was as though we'd stepped into a postcard. The kids immediately darted toward the waves, while my parents meandered along the shore, looking like an adorable old couple straight out of a rom-com. Even Rachel seemed unusually content, lounging on a beach chair with oversized sunglasses and a margarita, looking like she was angling for a spot on one of those reality shows where rich housewives pretend to dote on their kids. Everything was going flawlessly. Until it wasn't. The unraveling it all unraveled with a text. And no, I wasn't snooping. Honest. I picked up Rachel's phone to snap a picture of the kids when it buzzed. One of those little iMessage previews popped up, and the name Dylan caught my eye. I blinked. Dylan? Who the hell is Dylan? I casually scrolled through the messages, telling myself I was just being curious, but then I saw them, the text, and they weren't about sunscreen or packing lists. Nope. These were about late-night meetups and things I'd rather not repeat, including a comment about missing the way she tastes. And guess what? Dylan just so happened to be staying at the same resort. Isn't that a cherry on top? My heart plummeted straight to my flip-flops, but I didn't blow up, not yet. No way was I going to wreck the vacation for everyone else, not until I'd wrapped my head around what I just discovered. While Rachel thought she was clever, I thought she was clever, already hatching a plan of my own. That night, after everyone was asleep, I sat up stewing over my next move. If Rachel thought she could waltz into some tropical fling under my nose, she was sorely mistaken. By morning, I was buzzing. Not by morning, I was buzzing. With the peace and tranquility of the ocean, but with the energy of a man on a mission. Detective mode. Rachel was already up when I woke. She'd probably gone to grab breakfast with the kids, or more likely, slipped off to see Dylan. I got out, dressed, grabbed my phone, and switched into detective mode. First stop, her Instagram. Her latest post painted a picture-perfect family vacation. Sunsets, kids playing in the surf, the works. What really caught my attention was the geotag, our exact location right there for the world, and Dylan to see. So I decided to leave my own little breadcrumb trail. I posted a cheerful update about family time at the beach, making sure Dylan knew exactly where we were. Later, I wandered down to the beach, trying to act like everything was normal. Rachel was lounging on a chair, legs crossed, drink in hand, with that infuriatingly calm smile on her face. Max and Emma were busy building sandcastles while my parents played along. It looked like a scene from a travel brochure. I dropped into the chair beside her, plastering on my best casual grin. "Morning, Bab," I said, keeping my voice light. She tilted her sunglasses up and glanced at me. "Slept in. Want me to grab you a drink?" "Sure," I replied, watching her closely. "What's on your agenda today?" "Got any big plans?" She chuckled, a sound that made my teeth grind. "Nope, just planning to soak up the sun." "You?" "Same here. Thinking we all stick together today. You know, family time." I made sure to stress that last part, but she didn't even flinch. If she were nervous, she didn't show it. Natalie approached us, carrying a tray with fresh drinks. "Hey, you two," she said, handing me a cold beer. "Max and Emma want to know if we can all go snorkeling later." "Sounds perfect," I replied, grateful for the distraction. Natalie had always been perceptive, and I could tell from her quick glance that she sensed something was off. Enter Dylan. And then there he was. Dylan. The guy walked onto the beach like he owned the place. Tall, tan, and oozing that smug confidence of someone who doesn't care he is walking into enemy territory. He was heading right for us, and Rachel saw him too. Behind her sunglasses, I caught the tiniest twitch of her lips, like she was fighting not to react. I leaned closer to her and dropped my voice to a whisper. "You know, Rachel, I think we should mix things up today. Might be throw in a little surprise." She turned her head slightly, her expression faltering for just a moment. "Kind of surprise," I smirked, glancing toward Dylan, who was now just steps away. "Oh, you'll see," I said, my voice steady. "It's going to be one hell of a show." Before she could even open her mouth, I stood up, weaving eagerly toward Dylan and calling out, "Hey man, over here." Rachel's face turned ghostly pale, the kind of white you only see in cartoons when a character realizes they've been caught red-handed. She scrambled to adjust her sunglasses, her hands moving with a nervous twitch, while Dylan, completely oblivious to the tension, strutted toward us with a self-assured grin. "Hey, you must be Dylan," I greeted him, my voice filled with the kind of cheerful energy you'd reserve for an old friend at a barbecue. Meanwhile, I could almost feel the panic radiating from Rachel like heat off the sand. Dylan, still none the wiser, reached out to shake my hand. Yeah, that's me, and you're Eric, right?" I clasped his hand firmly, might be just a touch too firmly, and watched his smile flicker with uncertainty. "Right," I replied smoothly, keeping my tone friendly, almost too friendly. "I've heard a lot about you," and deliberate, like I was savoring every syllable. Rachel didn't move a muscle. Her eyes darted nervously between us like she was watching the world's most awkward tennis match. "Small world, huh?" I said casually, lowering myself back into the chair. I patted the empty seat next to me. "Come sit, let's have a little chat." Dylan blinked, clearly thrown off guard. I was just heading to grab a drink," he stammered, hesitating to grab a drink. "Come on," I insisted, brushing off his excuse with a wave of my hand. "You're already here, might as well relax for a bit." He hesitated for another second but finally sat down. Though his posture was stiff, his confidence noticeably faltering. I caught him sneaking glances at Rachel, probably trying to decode her expression and figure out if had walked into some kind of trap. Spoiler. He had. Natalie hovered nearby, pretending to be engrossed in her book, but I couldn't to be engrossed in her book. Tell she was listening intently, her eyes occasionally flicking up to observe the unfolding drama. The confrontation. Dylan, I started, leaning back in my chair like I didn't have a single worry in the world. "What brings you to this neck-off? The woods? Business? Pleasure? Or something else?" Rachel, who had been frozen in place until now, suddenly found her voice. "Eric, I don't think..." I cut her off with a smile so sharp it could slice through steel. "Oh, I'm sure Dylan doesn't mind answering," I said, keeping my gaze locked on him. "After all, he's a friend, right?" I turned to him with a raised eyebrow. "You two met through..." Dylan cleared his throat, his discomfort written all over his face. Mutual friends," he muttered, shifting in his seat like he was sitting on hot coals. "Mutual friends," I repeated, pretending to mull it over as though I'd never heard anything so fascinating. "That's funny. Rachel's never mentioned any mutual friends named Dylan." My words hung in the air, the tension thick enough to cut with a butter knife. Rachel, now visibly sweating despite the shade of her sun hat, tried to regain control. "Eric, can we talk alone?" she said, her voice trembling slightly. I flashed her a saccharine smile, playing the role of the perfect, oblivious husband. "Oh, well, talk," I assured her. "Don't worry about that. But for now, let's enjoy the company, right, Dylan?" Dylan looked like he wanted to vanish into the sand beneath us. "Yeah, sure," he mumbled, his earlier bravado nowhere to be found. Before Rachel could say anything else, the kids came running up, their faces beaming with joy. "Hi, Dad, Mom, come look at the castle we built," Emma shouted, grabbing at Rachel's arm. Rachel leapt to her feet like she'd been thrown a lifeline. "I'll be right there." "Sweetie," she said quickly, her voice unnaturally cheerful. Then she shot me a pointed glare that could have melted glass. "Eric, now." I leaned back in the chair, crossing my arms. "You go ahead," I said smoothly, waving her off. "I catch up in a bit." With an exaggerated flip of her beach hat, she stormed off toward the kids. I turned back to Dylan, who now looked like he was questioning every decision that had led him to this moment. "The final blow. Look, man," he muttered under his breath, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't want any trouble." "Trouble?" I chuckled, clapping him on the shoulder in a gesture that made him flinch. "Dylan, buddy, I'm not here to cause trouble. You and Rachel seem to get along great. I'm just here to enjoy my family vacation. The more the merrier, right?" Dylan swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing nervously. He had no idea what was coming. "Just one thing," I said, leaning in closer, my voice dropping to a low, conspiratorial tone. "You might want to get out of here. Like, now. Now. Because when Rachel finds out what's next, trust me, you won't want to be anywhere near her." Dylan's eyes widened, his confusion plain as day. "What do you mean?" I stood up, brushing sand off my shorts as I prepared to leave. "Oh, you'll find out," I said with a smirk. "Just take my advice and go before the fireworks start." Without waiting for a response, I strode away, leaving him sitting there, looking like a deer caught in headlights. Phase 1 of my plan executed to perfection. Now it was time to focus on Rachel, who had no idea what was about to hit her. The aftermath, the rest of the vacation passed in an uneasy quiet. Rachel kept her distance, retreating into herself. She spent her time sipping drinks on the beach or quietly entertaining the kids. But she made no further attempts to confront me. I knew she was stewing over her defeat, but I wasn't about to let it affect me. I spent those days soaking up every moment with Max and Emma, savoring the laughter, the simple joy of just being together. For the first time in years, I felt a sense of peace. On the morning we were set to leave, I packed up our things while Rachel disappeared, no doubt making frantic phone calls to her lawyer or venting to her parents. I didn't care. The paperwork was filed, the wheels were in motion, and soon I would be free. When it was time to load the car, Rachel finally reappeared. She wore sunglasses that concealed her eyes, her face a cold, unreadable mask. She didn't say a word as we got the kids settled into the back seat, and I didn't feel the need to break the silence. There was nothing left to say. As we pulled away from the beach, I glanced in the rearview mirror. Max and Emma were giggling, playing some silly game only they understood. Despite everything, they were happy, and that was all that mattered. We would be okay. Natalie, who was following us in her own car, gave me a reassuring wave. She had promised to help me through the coming weeks, offering to stay with us for a while. As we adjusted to our new normal, her support meant more than she would ever know. As for Rachel, she would have to figure out her own path. I was done carrying the weight of her lies, her manipulations, her betrayals. I turned my attention back to the road ahead, the rising sun casting a warm glow on the horizon. It was time for a fresh start, a real one. No more lies, no more manipulation, no more shadows hanging over our lives. Just me and the kids moving forward together. And this time, I wasn't looking back. The lesson: sometimes life throws you a curveball, a betrayal, a lie, a moment that changes everything. But it's in those moments that you find your strength. For me, it wasn't just about confronting Rachel or exposing Dylan. It was about reclaiming my life, my happiness, and my family. And as I drove away from that beach, I realized something. The best revenge isn't anger or bitterness. It's living well. And that's exactly what I plan to do.